So, as part of the research project, you have to do a primary research component. So, basically, you're going to decide like what kind of primary research you want to do. So, here's a list of your options. You can do a survey, so a list of questions that you plan to ask of many people. So if you choose a survey, what I need to know on the research materials, rough and final draft, is like what questions you plan to ask. So I need a list of questions, at least 7 that you would like to ask to multiple people. I would also like you to state where you plan to get participants. So are you going to get it by social media, by email, in person? How are you going to get people to actually do the survey? And who are you going to get to do the survey? I recommend using Google Forms to create surveys. It makes it easier for you to send it out, get it back, and get results. Because you can just go in and look at results as people put them in. So Google Forms is really good for that. You can use any kind of Google account to create that. And then you can also, instead of doing a survey, do a focus group. So you can have a focus group is kind of like if you have a group of 5 or 6 people and you ask them a question and let them discuss, right? So you want a list of questions that you would plan to ask these people and a list of participants. So that would be what I would want to see for the primary research materials, rough and final draft for a focus group. If you want to do an interview or a series of interviews, basically, I would need a list of questions that you plan to ask to start the conversation. You can add follow-up questions after the interview, as you go in the interview, but I'm only looking for your initial questions here. I'll also want to know whom you plan to interview. Who is it that you are going to ask these questions of? And what questions are you going to ask to start with? And like I said, you can then add follow-up questions that don't need to be on the primary research materials. And then you can also do a case study. So a particular person and the particular situation that you plan to ask them about and to go into detail about. I would need the list of questions and the subject of your case study. You can do a content analysis, so a detailed list of the content you'll be analyzing and what you'll be looking for. If you're going to look at all horror movies and look for a particular thing and be looking at a particular thing, I would need to know what horror movies are you going to watch? What are you going to be looking for? What sort of information are you going to be gathering? That would be what I would need for a content analysis. And then for data-driven observations, so I would need basically an overview of what group or of people or artifacts that you will be observing and the data you plan to collect from this observation. So I just basically need a plan, where are you going to go in order to do this observation? What sorts of things are you going to be looking for? What data are you going to be looking for? And what people or objects fall into the sort of categories of what you're going to be looking at. So basically, I just need a plan of action. And I would also like you to draft a statement of purpose that explains what you hope to find by doing this research. So, just a brief overview of what you're planning, what you're hoping to gain by doing this research, and how you're going to carry the research out. Okay, the questions you're going to ask, the things you'll be looking at, the things you'll be looking for. Okay, so as long as you give me that, we're good. But just decide. And if you can also mix these together, so you can do a survey and then interview a few of your survey participants, for instance, or you might have an interview that you expand to a case study, or there's or you might do a content analysis and a survey, or so you can mix and match them as well. You don't have to stick to just one, but I want to know basically what you're going to be doing with all that. Okay, so that's all that I need for the rough draft, and then for the final draft, I want you to sort of revise based on feedback, and to sort of going forward, figure out, okay, how's the best way that I can do this. So you're going to get feedback from your peers, and then from me. So that's all I have for you for the primary research materials. Let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. The rough draft of the primary research materials is going to be due October 25th. That's Wednesday. And then the primary materials final draft will be due in class on October 31st next week. So if you need an extra day or so on the rough draft, that's fine, but just try to get to me as soon as possible. And then you also want to do the primary materials peer workshop. So you're putting the primary research materials rough draft into the discussion board, and then you'll go through and look at everybody's and give them a little bit of feedback, and there's instructions on how to do that. And you basically just go to online peer reviews, primary research materials rough draft, start a new thread, put your name as the subject, and then a link to the paper in the body. And then after others have turned theirs in, once you click on the post, then there will be a place to reply. And I want you to reply with one question and one suggestion that's not related to grammar. So very simple, and just let me know if you have any troubles with any of that. Okay. All right, that's all I have for you. So I will see you guys in class. Bye.